You go. Can you go down low? How low can you go, Indiana Fever? Jeez, you guys have just turned this organization into a flat out joke. All of a sudden, Sophie Cunningham is hurt. All of a sudden, her elbow's messed up. Y'all smell that? Smells like BS. It smells like some punishment is being served out to Sophie Cunningham for going.
Behind closed doors, however, that intense loyalty reportedly created major conflict with the coaching staff. Sources suggested that Stephanie White believed Sophie's behavior was becoming uncontrollable and that her emotional reactions, technical fouls, and aggressive defense of Clark were distracting from the team's structure. The coaches allegedly wanted discipline, organization, and complete authority over how players responded on the court. Sophie, meanwhile, appeared focused on protecting her point guard, and that difference in priorities reportedly pushed the organization toward one of the darkest moments in recent Fever history. Insiders described the atmosphere at Indiana's practice facility on the morning of the alleged suspension as painfully cold, with tension hanging over the building before most players had even arrived. According to emotional accounts that later surfaced, White reportedly summoned Cunningham into the front office for an unexpected private meeting. There were allegedly no teammates present, no advance warning, and no opportunity for Sophie to prepare for what she was about to hear. The coach reportedly told her that her conduct was damaging the team's image and focus. Even though many fans believed Cunningham's toughness was one of the main reasons Clark could withstand the constant physical pressure, Sophie was reportedly instructed to gather her belongings and step away. Reports described the punishment as a private, indefinite suspension, with officials allegedly planning to tell the media that she was absent because of a personal issue limiting public outrage. Think about how devastating that would feel. Imagine sacrificing your body, career, and reputation to defend a teammate, only to be quietly removed by the very organization you were fighting for. Witnesses claimed Sophie left the meeting with tears forming in her eyes and began clearing out her locker before the rest of the team arrived. She reportedly refused to create a scene because she didn't want to cause further disruption in the locker room. Just as she had absorbed hard hits and constant criticism on the court, she allegedly accepted the punishment in silence, walking away heartbroken while believing the people she had protected might never know the real reason she disappeared.
This is ridiculous. Look at the first comment, Evelyn. You guys are a clown organization. Here it says, Sophie hurt her elbow writing this for Stephanie White, didn't she? This is what Sophie Cunningham had. I will not pass to Caitlin again. I will not pass to Caitlin Clark again. This is what they forced Sophie Cunningham to do. Okay, that's how she hurt her elbow. CDS Sports, go rogue, win game, end up on injury report. Beatings will continue until morale improves. This is ridiculous, guys. This is ridiculous. Everybody knows this is clearly punishment for Sophie Cunningham. Chloe Peterson was the first to report on it. She said, Sophie Cunningham is questionable with the right elbow injury for tomorrow's game. She participated in the portion of practice open to the media this morning. Okay. And everybody knows every comment is that this is punishment. Look here, Sophie being put in timeout for speaking what's on her mind.
But the coaching staff allegedly made one enormous and irreversible miscalculation. They failed to recognize just how powerful the bond between the team's enforcer and its superstar had become. When Caitlin Clark reportedly arrived at the arena and noticed Sophie's locker had been cleared out, the atmosphere inside the facility changed instantly. According to the account, a locker room employee quietly explained the alleged suspension to Clark, and within seconds the MVP candidate erupted. This wasn't ordinary disappointment or frustration. It was described as a mix of heartbreak, anger, and betrayal. Clark reportedly realized immediately that the teammate who had consistently defended her had been sacrificed to protect the organization's public image. Reports claim she never even started getting ready for practice. Instead of lacing up her shoes or talking with teammates, she walked past the assistant coaches and headed straight towards Stephanie White's office with a level of fury that those around her had never seen before. When Clark opened the door, people standing in the hallway reportedly heard one of the most emotional confrontations the organization had ever witnessed. She allegedly reminded White that Sophie had taken every hit intended for her and had repeatedly stepped in whenever opponents tried to intimidate or injure her. Clark reportedly made it clear that she would not quietly accept the removal of the one teammate who had consistently protected her. White allegedly responded by explaining that the suspension came from organizational leadership and was meant to restore focus and control. Clark, however, reportedly rejected that explanation completely. Music? She viewed the decision as a betrayal, recognized the tremendous influence she possessed, and decided to use every bit of it. According to the leaked account, Clark leaned across the desk, looked directly at her coach, and delivered the sentence that could shake the entire WNBA, music. Music the sense bereavers, the suspension immediately, or I'll leave alongside Sophie. If Cunningham was forced out, Clark would refuse to stay. The impact of that alleged ultimatum was reportedly immediate. News of the confrontation supposedly reached league officials within minutes, throwing the commissioner's office into emergency mode as executives realized the league's biggest star might be prepared to walk away from the season.
This organization is like the mafia. So everyone knows, it's clear as day that this is punishment for Sophie Cunningham. It's very, very, very obvious that this is punishment for Sophie Cunningham. The organization is a straight up clown show at this point. And then not only that, they have not addressed the smear campaign. They've gone out of their way to address any and everything else. They refuse to address the smear campaign led by Dan Dockich, who has been adamant about he's getting this information from the inside. Not only have they not addressed that, and he doubled down on it today. Dan Dockich was bombing again today. Stephanie White went on the same platform that took shots at Caitlin Clark and aired a hit piece. This is crazy. All of this is just flat out craziness. This Indiana Fever organization is a flat out joke. Sophie Cunningham is being punished for going rogue with Caitlin Clark, passing her the ball. You know they wanted that ball to go to Kelsey Mitchell. They didn't give a damn. That ball go to Kelsey Mitchell or come hell or high water. And that is what it is.
Now consider the financial reality. League officials understand exactly what's driving the WNBA's recent growth. Packed arenas, rising television ratings, soaring merchandise sales, and the unprecedented attention surrounding Indiana are all heavily connected to Caitlin Clark and the excitement generated by the Fever. If Clark were to refuse to take the court in protest over Sophie Cunningham's alleged suspension, the impact could be enormous. Commentators and marketing analysts have warned that the league cannot afford a public conflict involving its biggest attraction. Some projections claim that nearly half of the WNBA's current audience could lose interest if Clark walked away, because millions of viewers are following the league specifically to watch her. Her supporters are fiercely loyal, and social media has already filled with fans demanding fair treatment for Cunningham while praising the idea that Clark would stand beside her teammate. According to these reports, the commissioner is reportedly furious that Stephanie White and the Fever allowed the disagreement to escalate to such a dangerous point. Emergency discussions are allegedly underway. Public relations teams are reportedly working to control the narrative, and the stability of the entire season may now depend on what Indiana decides next. Will White reverse the reported suspension and bring Sophie back? Will Clark truly walk away from a potentially historic season to defend the teammate who consistently protected her? We may be witnessing a complete rebellion unfold within the Fever organization. At this point, the controversy has moved beyond basketball strategy, wins, and statistics. It has become a test of loyalty, trust, family, and whether an athlete should stand up for someone who repeatedly sacrificed herself on her behalf.
Isn't it obvious? Isn't it obvious that Dan Dockich is not lying about the information he's getting from within this organization as they refuse to address it? Dan Dockich doubled down on everything he said right here in this. He took the X. Yo, G, damn it, hold on. Steph White is calling. Gotta go to work. Keep hating. Keep stalking. So he's taking shots at the people that have been addressing him, adding on to the smear campaign that's going on against Caitlin Clark. It's ridiculous, but the fact of the matter is you can't blame Dan Dockich. You can't blame him. He's not lying about where he's getting the information from, which is why the Indiana Fever is so hush and damn quiet about it. He's not lying. None of them are going to come out and call him a liar. None of them have stepped up to the plate to address the smear campaign that's being launched at Caitlin Clark. She's being targeted. They're not saying anything because it's coming from them. They've gone on to address everything else, whether it's people coming at them for the draft. Lynn Dunn went and called us all complainers. Stephanie White addressing the fans saying, hey, these games are boring as hell now. These games are boring. The product stinks now. You've come over here and ruined the product. The games are entertaining. She addressed that in last game's pregame podium. They've addressed everything. The Indiana Fever's Twitter handle or X handle put a post up after last game saying, are you not entertained? They've been addressing everything publicly but this, because they are in on it. Make no mistake about that. Make no mistake about that at all. And then Stephanie White, shout out to Mick Talks Hoops.
I would strongly encourage everyone to listen carefully to Cheryl Reeves' comments, because they were incredibly thoughtful and deserve serious attention.
This is gross. Well, we see Cheryl Reeve wearing a shirt today in support of trans kids. Trans kids belong on the shirt. This in the aftermath of Sophie Cunningham's recent comments. We actually saw Cheryl and Sophie speaking at center court pregame. And yesterday, Cheryl Reeve spent a lot of time talking at length with the media about this.
Now I want to hear directly from you because fans across the internet are completely divided over this situation. Would Caitlin Clark be justified in risking her entire season to stand by Sophie Cunningham? Or would Stephanie White be within her authority to suspend a player whose aggressive style she believed was hurting the team? Share your honest, unfiltered opinion in the comments right now. Hit the like button if you believe loyalty between teammates still matters, and share this video with every basketball fan who needs to hear what's reportedly happening inside Indiana. Subscribe so you don't miss the next update in this explosive locker room controversy. I'll see you in the next video, buddy.
Easy to find online.
I would encourage anybody to go see Cheryl Reeve's comments. By the way, Sophie did not look like she backed down from Cheryl Reeve. I've got more coming on all of this. This is right here. Sophie Cunningham, by the way, took a ugly elbow in this game, and the refs called the foul against her. Let's just look at this. Bam! Hit her right in the jaw. And the refs, nah, they swallowed their whistles. I'd love to know why. Lynx defeated the Fever 108-100. And you could see the deficiencies in this team showed out. The bench is not deep enough. There's not enough length on this team. Again, we were saying that as free agency was going on. And then the draft, when it really blew up, and they took Raven Johnson instead of a big. And they got rid of Justine Passat. It felt like the Fever never had a chance in this game. And I was looking at the starting five for the Lynx. We got to realize.
Buddy, sit down and prepare yourself because behind the scenes, the WNBA may be dealing with one of the most emotional and devastating crises the league has ever faced. Away from the cameras, packed arenas, and roaring crowds, reports claim the Indiana Fever locker room has been torn apart. What's allegedly unfolding inside the organization could spark an emotional collapse with consequences that reach across the entire league. Some observers even believe a significant portion of the WNBA audience could disappear if officials fail to get the situation under control. You may have thought this season was only about historic numbers, dominant performances, and broken records. But this story runs much deeper. It's about loyalty, betrayal, protection, and one player potentially risking everything for the teammate who stood up for her. Explosive reports circulating online claim that coach Stephanie White secretly handed Sophie Cunningham the emotional heartbeat of Indiana's defense a devastating suspension. But before the situation could reportedly be kept from the public, Caitlin Clark, the league's biggest star, allegedly confronted the decision and delivered an ultimatum powerful enough to send panic throughout the WNBA. Stay with the story until the very end, because we're breaking down the alleged tears, the betrayal, and the moment Clark supposedly looked directly at her coach and made her position unmistakably clear. If Sophie leaves, I leave too. Subscribe, hit the like button, and let's break down exactly how the situation reportedly reached such an explosive point. To understand the reaction, you first have to recognize the powerful, largely unspoken bond between Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham. From the moment Clark entered the league, everyone knew she would carry an enormous target on her back. Veterans challenged her. Opposing teams built physical defensive schemes to slow her down, and hard contact became a regular part of nearly every game. Clark needed someone willing to protect her. Music. Someone prepared to absorb criticism, accept punishment, and put her own body and reputation on the line so the franchise star could continue performing. Sophie Cunningham became that person. Whenever an opponent delivered a questionable hit or tried to intimidate Clark, Sophie was usually one of the first teammates to respond. She accepted technical fouls, endured physical punishment, faced hostile crowds, including the intense reception in Portland, and rarely backed down. Too much of the league, Sophie willingly became the villain. But inside Indiana, she became the teammate determined to protect Clark, no matter the personal cost.